Marjorie King was born on June 23rd, 1930, in Trinidad and Tobago. World War II was still happening at that time.
The North Shore of Venezuela, and it's in the Atlantic Ocean. Well, you know that there was a lot of bombardment and a lot of U-boats in the Atlantic that were attacking any vessels that came down. Any traffic in the Atlantic was affected. So many ships that were coming from the United States, which was the place where the food was, coming from the States or coming from England, there could be attacks. So there were shortages, a lot of shortages.
However, this war didn't have any impact on Marjorie, except certain rituals such as
When a supply of food was available, went down and bought in bulk. Have to make black curtains and shield the windows so that no light escaped. And if
we were not terrified by the war.
refrigeration at that time, so we had to eat all this bread. So it was a great time. So I didn't see that the things that were happening. They didn't register on. By the time the war ended, I was 15. But in the early stages, it didn't register on me what was really happening. It was just something was different and it was exciting, and no, it wasn't like what we're looking on and seeing.
Marjorie came to Canada when she was 23 and applied for University of Toronto, but
And my brother had come down in May, and I hadn't heard a thing from Toronto, and I was really worried.
she would go to University of Manitoba and studied at King's College for her teaching certificate. Then Marjorie took up her first job.
Went to interview a woman who was called Constance Wager from Peterborough. So, she was very happy to meet this woman who had just got a degree coming out of Canada, and and so I was hired on the spot. And I had a very wonderful time teaching there over the years. This girls' school, it was, and the kids were wonderful. And they parted ways when you came walk down the hall. They stood aside to let you pass. I was Queen Marjorie at that moment.
She came back to Canada in 1965 due to a marriage breakup. She was extremely confident that she would get a job.
Marriage breakup. Yeah, and I was this kind of person because I wasn't sticking around here. I enjoyed myself in Canada. I'll just go back there. I'm sure that they will get me. I have a job there. I have the qualification. Oh, confidence is one of the things. I was very confident that I could go anywhere in the world and find a job. That was what got me back here, and it happened because I got a job, and immediately as I applied for the job, I told them I was prepared to teach French and English.
But what she thought the job would be wasn't what it was.
When you're a new teacher in a new situation, you get all the scraps. And I taught at that school for that half year, first half year, and for the second year they gave me social studies again. So I decided that I would go. Expo 67 was coming down, and I better equip myself about what to do because it seemed that social studies was where I was stuck. So I stopped in every little town on the way from. I took Highway 1, not 401, Highway 1, and went through all. Then I went up north to Edmonton, and I went to the Craigalachi place, and I took all pictures of everything you could take. I had this little camera, SLR camera, and I took pictures of everything you could pick, and Louis Riel, and everything you could pick. That was on the social study course. And I figured, okay, now I have my own pictures, and I went to the capitals, and I visited. I got notes, I got all kinds of things, and I figured now I am prepared. I have my own things to present and talk about what I'd done. And when I got back to the class, I discovered that they'd given me geography. So, so all my preparations went to naught. I didn't mind geography. I loved human geography because geography is an interesting subject. But I really didn't mind it. But I wasn't prepared for it in the same way as I had made myself now prepared for a grade 8 social studies course. But then the next year I left the school and I
At least she got a new job in Vancouver.
interviewed me by telephone. But this is very interesting. They interviewed me by telephone. But this was the day when the days when schools were expanding. The baby booms. Their children had, were being born, and so the schools were springing up everywhere, and so they needed teachers like crazy in the cities. And I said to me, "Now, will I be doing any social studies?" And they said, "No, only English and French." And so I came up to this new school, and I got exactly what I wanted, and I stayed there for 24 years.
After all her years of teaching,
Mm-hmm.
After my daughter finished university, because I figured that I had to be here to give her support until she finished university. That's what I figured my job was. And as soon as it was done, almost the date, I took leave from my teaching job and started traveling.
after all her years of teaching, she went to islands and places such as Paris, Jamaica, Guadeloupe. Here are some postcards Marjorie collected when she went to Cairo. One day, Marjorie saw a huge ad on local newspaper.
Saw a newspaper. I don't know what newspaper, the Guardian or something. I don't know what paper, maybe. I was living in Vancouver, so it's Vancouver Sun or Vancouver Province. I saw a huge ad asking for teachers to come to Zimbabwe. And I thought, oh, that would be a wonderful experience to go and teach in another country. So I applied. And I applied. I hadn't got any permission from my school board to do this yet. And I knew that the rule was that they would give you 2 years um, permission, but this job was for 3 years. So I applied and I figured, well, we'll see what happens when at the end of 2 years. And I went to Zimbabwe in 1982, except for the September beginning of classes began in September. Um, and so I arrived there to teach in Zimbabwe, and I taught there for 3 years.
Here are some pictures of Marjorie in Zimbabwe. After that, she traveled again to different places. Marjorie currently lives in Toronto where she plays bridge online and takes Spanish courses. Marjorie's advice to us is always stay well equipped and take advantage of things that come our way.